So for the induction part of the ceremony, I will introduce the introducer, and then they'll come up and they'll introduce the inductees. So tonight, when they come up, they're going to get a plaque. Like this. And they'll also get a lifetime all sports pass to any Ellsworth High School event. So the first one is Jamie Dunn, husband Robert Byron. Please come on up.
Thanks for your applause that I pulled up. I am married to Jamie Dunn, now known as Jamie Dunn Byron. We've been married for 24 years. We've raised 4 children, ranging from 30 to 20. So we're a little tired. But I wanted to take a minute to just talk about Jamie and her family. Jamie and I had unusual circumstances. I was a state trooper at the time, and she called in a complaint about a stalker, which was a legitimate complaint. At the time, we tracked the gentleman down. He was prosecuted and defined. And when the case was done, I asked her out, and she said, I'm kind of seeing somebody. So I just said, I'll convince you not to move on. So about 4 months later, I went home, and there was a message on my machine from Jamie. And she was on there, just hemming and hard, kind of trying to ask me out. Dinner was still available. She got so embarrassed that she said, never mind. And about 3 seconds later, there's another message. It's Jamie. And she wanted to know if dinner was still available. So I just laughed, and the rest is history, as they say. Jamie's parents instilled a tremendous work ethic in her and her siblings. I think it's evident from her running career. For somebody of such small stature to achieve the types of records that she achieved and the drive that she has and still has. They were a successful professional in the insurance business for the last 30 years. And from the bottom of my heart, I can't imagine anyone more deserving of this award. James Byron.
I'm very honored to be here tonight, be part of the first inductees into the Ellsworth Sports Hall of Fame. I have such great memories from my running days. I ran a lot of miles with a lot of different people and had a lot of different conversations. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about being a member of a team. I learned a lot about communities and what they need for support. And it's helped me in all aspects of my life. 40 years ago, when I started running, running was just beginning. There weren't a lot of women runners. Bill Rogers was just making running popular. He just won the first Boston Marathon. I went to my older brother's cross-country races, and I saw Jane Lockhart running, and she was actually running in the men's race because they didn't have women's races separate at that time. I also was watching Jo Musbaugh from MBI. She made running look fun, and she made it look easy, which I don't know how she did that. I was born into a running family. My great-grandfather, Willis Dunn, my grandfather, Bubba Dunn, my uncle, Howard. I have cousins, Jimmy and Michael Webb. I have 2 older brothers, Miles and Dickie. and I had at least 3 ends done, so all running. So my brothers played a big part in my running. Right from the start, I didn't just start running. I was taught to run. I was told, keep your arms straight, keep your chin up, keep going absolutely straight. You don't want to waste any energy. So, even before I started high school, probably a month and a half before we started high school, we had handicap races, my older brothers and I, and we would, in theory, if everyone ran the fastest race, we would come back into the driveway at the same time. So, we're not going to go through this. We would run up one road and come back. So, I learned really fast that, I needed to put as much distance between me and them in the first 3 miles, because I wanted to, when I turned the corner, I wanted them to see how far they had to catch me. So that worked fine. So it gave me a little breather, and then I'd start back, and about 1.5 miles from the house, there were these long blueberry fields. Beautiful to look at, but it gave them the opportunity to see me. And psychologically, if they could see me, they'd chase me down. So I learned I had to run fast there. I had to really, deep feet to get back into the woods so they couldn't see me. So I'd hit the woods and I'd be breathing pretty hard, and but it didn't matter. Then I was at least out of sight. It gave me just a little more chance of winning. So they played a huge part in teaching me strategy. That races aren't necessarily just about the finish line, but you have to race whenever anybody wants to challenge and throw a race. I had my whole family support. My father made it to almost every race I ever had. I don't know how to do that. You get out of work and get there by the time the race started. He always knew exactly what to say to me. And if you've ever seen him at a cross-country race, he was at all the checkpoints. He ran probably as much as I did during the race. He'd run here and give me a time, he'd run there and give me a time, and give me a lot of encouragement. I saw him do the same thing for Brian a few decades later. He believed in me, and so I believed in myself. So to have that kind of support was just really something special. It really was my whole family. My mother, I don't know if anyone can remember, she cut out white felt letters and wrote names on all the singlets for the men's team, so that when they were in big races, they could be easily identified. She did that by hand. She always had my favorite meal and my favorite clothes ready for races. I just know one thing, I couldn't have done it without her. But it didn't stop there. My grandmother was also in the mix. She knit hats for everybody on the team. I was down telling her how cold it was racing in October, November, and I said, by the time I finish the race, I can't feel my wrists. I can't feel my hand. It's just too cold. So she shows up the next day at the house. She's knitting a pair of mittens and cuffs. I had a lot of success racing, but I didn't do it alone. The community was really behind us as well. When I finished practice every night, I had missed the bus home to Otis. And so I had 2 choices. I could either hitchhike, which I did if I had cousins or brothers or friends that were on the team, and we would hitchhike home. But I didn't feel I could do that by myself, so I didn't. My other option was I was at the other high school, and I walked across the soccer field, and I cut through where the YMCA is, and I cut across the road, and I think it's still there now, but there was a telephone garage, and there were 2 or 3 men there that were from my hometown, and they would give me a ride home every night if I needed a ride. So we had a lot of people looking out for us. There wasn't any track at the time when we were running. I don't know who owned the Mill Mall at the time, but it wasn't like it is today. It wasn't a bustling place. It was empty. And for winter track, they would let us go in there and just run and use it as a field house. You had to make sure you didn't run into any flower poles or anything like that. But it was end-to-end run through there. So a lot of support there. I know that also our community really rallied for Amy Siyama and Roy Stratton and I qualified for the Junior Olympics, and we sent out to the St. Louis, and they raised money for the tickets, for the hotels, for the meals, they paid for everything. They didn't have to do that, and it wasn't expected that it was the incredible thing that they're doing about life and all that community. Ellsworth Feed was something else. The support that we had at the time, we had tremendous teams. We had super boys and girls teams, and the more success we had, the more interest it generated. So we always had huge teams that were really fun. It was really just a lot of energy around that. We had great coaches. Typically, you go to a race and you race with another team and you have a challenge. But for me, every day, every practice, every race, I competed against another top runner in the state, Lori Stratton. And so she pushed me on a daily basis. It wasn't like we went here and there for competition. It was right here in Ellsworth. And we had a strong team. If I were to know then what I know now, I wish that we were less competitors and we weren't able to partner a little more. I think that we really could have unleashed some full potential. I continued on to run in the Nationals on the corporate team. We ran up in Santa Barbara, we ran again in LA. And as far as potential, I ran my fastest 2 miles when I was 30 years old. So I just think it's interesting how people push you and how it allows you to do what you can do. Again, I have a lot of good memories. I thank Ellsworth High School, I thank the community, and I thank my family for all the support and opportunities that have been provided to me. I would like to acknowledge my parents, Dick and Dunn, my older brother, Miles, my younger brother, Brian, my niece, Brianne, are all here tonight. Again, I am honored, and I thank you very much for the special award. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
John Eads Jr. Let's introduce John Eads.
Excuse me, I asked that. It's my turn. Look at yours. I'm here on behalf of my father, John C. Eads. Went to Ellsworth from 1950 to 1954, played basketball, baseball, football, was a two-way lineman in football and a hard-throwing right-handed pitcher on the baseball team. He started 85 games as a varsity center, the most games ever started by any Ellsworth High School player. He holds the record of most foul shots in the New England High School tournament game, 15, at Boston Garden. Third all-time leading scorer in Ellsworth High School history, 1,232 points. First team All-Maine, 52, 53, and 54. Honorable mention, North All-American High School team, 54. Hancock County League leading scorer, 52 and 53. Second leading scorer in Eastern Maine, 1953. Played on 2 Eastern Maine and State of Maine championship teams in 1953 and 54. Played on 3 Moscow Valley Conference championship teams in 52, 53, and 54. Played on 2 Hancock County League championship teams in 1952 and 1953. I am proud to introduce my father, John Eads, to the Ellsworth High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Wait a minute. This is supposed to be the older years. Dan, I want to thank you. When I drove into Ellsworth Falls today and I saw a banner, "Welcome Home, Johnny," and I said, "Right on, that's how you over there." Wonderful. I hope I don't get too emotional because I have a great son. taking care of me for the last year because I've been sick. You know, trying to get the program. So I had a fortunate. I got to thank. I was born in Bangor, Maine, as was Josh Scott, and we all moved into Ellsworth in about the 7th or 8th grade. So I have to say, with Walter Scott Sr., Tug White Sr., and my dad got us all here. And then Big Charlie Tuesday, Charlie, the most ruling individual we ever saw in our life. We were so scared we didn't dare to call him Charlie until we were like in the 7th. Tug White used to say, "She's I see Charlie in the drugstore." And he said, "I'd go the other way, but I scared him." Still, the guy was unbelievable. And he became a very good friend of mine years later. So I want to thank Mary Snow School, Bangor, and everyone. When I was 8th grade, I had Richard Dickon. I don't know if you remember Richard Dickon. And we only lost one game when I was 20 in 8th grade. And my freshman year, there was a coach named Jack Johnson. Now listen to this. Here I am, 14 years old. And I get a call in the office. Mr. Johnson said, "You're going to be my starting center." 14 years old. I said, "Really? Boy, I don't know about that year. I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. We won 3 games. And all comes Mr. Katz. Brother, what a wake-up call that was. You know? So my son said, I played more games at Ellsworth High School in basketball than anybody's ever played. Probably never will because we played for the Woodland High School. But I played with Jasper, probably the greatest player. The guy was phenomenal. You know the nice thing about it? None of us were jealous of each other. Jack would fit me up. Ken White averaged 4 points a game in high school. He goes to Bates College. He averages 14. You should see what he wrote about. But I had a lot of stories, and I'm sorry I'm a little shaky because I've been through crap the last year or so. And it's been a nightmare. You imagine sitting there, having a doctor drill a hole, take out 8 parts of the pool. So expensive. But if I this guy right here, my son, he's done so much too. I'm sorry for this so much. But this has been a thrill. I was so pleased with David. 20 years old. I'm so pleased with Jackson. I'm not very pleased that Jack's not here, because I have several stories I would have told you. He was a pisser. I'm in Boston Garden, early 60s. That's when the Celtics should play prelims. So all over the floor is my old buddy. So we got to kind of take punches at a drinking at night with about a bus. So take this guy down. But I got to tell you a quick story. You would like this. I'm Celtics, traded out Jim, 1953, 54. Right out back there. Like I got pictures of Jack and I, was right at the clock, sitting in Brookside Restaurant. Some of you old guys don't know. So anyways, I'm, and they used to go into so then, Red asked Jack, began against 2 baseball to do some scrimmages. He said, sure, but we couldn't have referees if we were pro. So, I'm up in Boston Garden, just before Red. And I said to my brother, I said, I gotta go see Red. He said, you BS. I said, no, I don't bet on it. So I go over, I said, Red. I said, Johnny Eats, a little thing, back in the 50s. He said, Johnny, remember you? I said, yeah, all these clinics, no. That was the kind of, I really liked it. And I want to thank everyone here I want to bring my cousin Billy, and they used to be dragged all over the receiving line. And we had a wonderful relationship. So they did me. I'm here, so alive, and all but out here last year. I want to thank my son. He was a wonderful guy. I'm treated. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Sue Shaw, introduce Brian Higgins.
This is a high point for me. I get to talk about Brian. Some of you here know that I taught with him for 28 years. But if I'd known I was going to be here tonight, then I would have saved a bunch of stories. Unfortunately, I don't have any. But anyway, where is it? If you see a little confetti coming up from over there, he said, good. You say you keep your speech the way it is, and if I've got it in mind too, I'll just take it out as you talk. So if you see little things coming up over there, that's what that is. There's an expression used when somebody excels at something for a long time. It's said that they're a legend in their own time. And I think that fits here. Brian, give you a little bit of history real quick. He graduated from Hamden Academy. He served for 5 years in the Navy as a hospital corpsman with the 1st Marine Air Wing. And then he graduated from Springfield College. His road to this evening, however, started back in 1974 when, as a new teacher, a different Superintendent Higgins, Dale Higgins, and Stu Taylor, asked him, he said, can you coach soccer? And Brian said, yes. Now, he'd only had one class in soccer, I believe it was, at Springfield, but it said that if you graduate from Springfield, you can coach anything. And he did, indeed, coach soccer, as we all know. So he studied, he researched, he asked advice, and he learned, and then he passed all of that along to his teams as he coached them to 566 wins in his 42 years of coaching at Ellsworth. His teams never had a losing season. They won 4 state championships and 18 Eastern Maine titles. Since the reclassifications in 1976, every graduating class along the way had a chance to play in an Eastern Maine playoff. He created soccer camps for summer play for the younger kids that were building blocks for the program. Fundraising events. Remember, does anybody besides me remember Super Bowl Sunday subs? Yay. Are you still doing it? Did you do that? So you quit coaching? Oh. Well, I wasn't here. Super Bowl Sunday subs. It was a big day in January. And the money took the kids to Europe to play soccer. How cool is that for a high school team to go to Europe to play soccer? And then in the alternate years, those kids came here. What kind of incredible memories for everybody involved, from the people making the sandwiches right through to the kids from Europe that were coming over here. It was wonderful. I personally think Springfield should name a gym after him or something, because if anybody personifies their expression of, if you graduate from Springfield, you can coach anything, it's Brian and the soccer record at Ellsworth High School. And then in 1981, he started down the same path with tennis. When Brian started tennis in Ellsworth, there weren't even any tennis courts. The games and practices were played on private courts with generous owners. For over 15 years, they did that. And then when the new school, that would be where we are, it's now about 20 some odd years old, and the adjoining tennis courts came along, then of course they finally had a home court. The 36 years of Ellsworth Tennis has over 700 wins, 7 Eastern Maine titles for boys, 7 Eastern Maine titles for girls, and 1 state champion for boys. Many, many Eagles have been part of Brian's soccer and tennis programs, and participation in those programs under Brian's coaching gave them athletic skills, yes, but it also created lifelong memories, those trips to Europe, the playoff games, all sorts of things. It instilled self-confidence and pride that those players, and some of those players are right here, will carry that with you forever. He did all of this modestly, very modestly. Whenever he's interviewed for paper or radio, he almost invariably will say something and then hand the microphone or the recorder or whatever it is over to the captain or the team members. He's shy. He really is. When he first started teaching back in 74, 43 years ago, the kids called him Skinner because of his haircut. Somewhere along the way that morphed into just Higgins. I don't know if the hairstyles changed or his hair got longer. I know his sideburns are shorter. You look up the yearbook of the 70s, what they done. It really hasn't gotten any older. The only thing that's changed are the team records. The wins just keep piling up, just keep adding up. In the 43 years that Higgins and his team have amassed records, those records are going to stand forever, probably. If not forever, for a long, long time. Long, long time. His coaching expertise has been recognized both in Maine and nationally. In 2006, he was inducted into the Maine Sports Hall of Fame as the winningest soccer coach ever in Maine. And in spring 2017, he was named the National Girls Tennis Coach of the Year. He's proven that he's aces as a coach, and part of that success is because he loves the coaching experience, he loves the sport, but he loves the kids. He really, truly loves every student that goes through this program. He might yell at them, but it's just loud love. Think of it that way. I'm sure as parents, you've given your kids some loud love too. As I said, he's modest and he's shy, and I know he's embarrassed, and he's sitting over there wishing I would shut up. But I'm almost ready to, but I just have to use this one appropriate phrase one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, administrators, students, athletes and former athletes of Ellsworth High School, I give you a coaching legend in his own time, right? Here forever, I think you ought to give me the
If I give that still, I get a free pass anyway, so you go right ahead. Told a few people today. I didn't know that I had to do this. After all these wins, I wouldn't have cared if we won or not. All right? To my players, all of them that I was thinking on the way in today, I've had probably 5,000 students in my PE classes, and I probably coached 1,100 students in some of the double sports. That's not counting the basketball games that I coached also. What'd you choke up for anyway? It happens when we get old, you know, Mr. Eads.
Yes. You only give you enough speak now when I can help you.
Can I use your walker? Actually, I met Mr. Eads when I was 16 years old. Mr. Eads was a basketball official. I was playing for him. Might have even been against Buddy Wood, the Ellsworth legend. Mr. Eads made a call on me, and as you can see, being the gentleman he is, he pulled me aside, and he says, "You blocked, and I had to call a foul on you." So he took me aside, was a coach really on the floor, but that is not my first memory of you. It's my second memory. When I was 8 years old, you're going to see somebody holding that. Remember black and white TV? Remember the old Bangor Auditorium? Mr. Eads? Right? I can remember watching the 1993-1994 basketball team on TV. 53, sorry. Happens with age. I had this little tennis ball I bounced around, and every time Ellsworth would score, I'd dunk it on the floor by our closet. Right? And I did that for tournaments for years till I got too old. I think I've touched the lives of every person somehow that's here tonight. Jamie, Timmy, Jack. Hold on, got written down here. Right, we're all students in my PE class. Robbie. Sue, you messed me up. Okay. Remember running a race against Rob Pendergast when he was in 7th grade? It was over at the old middle school. Old high school, we're going on that path, the community soccer field. Robbie was 25 yards ahead of me. And to myself, I said, I'm not going to let that kid beat me. It may have been the last time Robbie ever lost a race. But I knew Robbie pretty well at the time. And I did outsprint him, but he had a little short legs then. I had Louis in PE class. And in 7th grade, cross-country runners, did he pay for your way in here, by the way? The attendance was really good, Mr. Clifford. All right? Louis was a great soccer player in PE class. As good as, if any of you were in class with Louis, he was as good as anybody, but chose the greater career. That's not politics, okay? Right, Mr. Scott and Mr. Taylor are my administrators. So, we had some pretty nice chats. Your hearing's not good. We had some pretty nice chats. Yeah. Just raise your hand, Mr. Taylor. I'll be right there. All right, Mr. Katzapikas, Mr. Taylor, Mr. Scott, all had student athletes that played in my program. And I think I mentioned all the PE students. I've been teaching here 43 years, I think. And guess what? In the lunchroom, I'm pretty important here. Mr. Clifford let me do the glass, but he did the speech. So that's how far I've advanced in 43 years. Thank you, Mr. Clifford. But seriously, look at Mr. Clifford has developed for the community, for the high school, an academic hall of fame. First and foremost, we're here for our students. We coach, but we're here first.
You may know Gabby Price, the Bangor football coach. He was in the school once. He wasn't in the school once, but his superintendent from Bangor was Wendell Eaton. And Mr. Eaton said, I knew Brian, I knew him from church. So I said, Brian, if you and Gabby taught your classes like you coached your teams, you'd have great classes. That one hurt, didn't it, sir? All right. And secondly, tonight, the Athletic Hall of Fame, and what a lovely evening. Right? It's all a credit to Mr. Clifford. When he's come here, believe me, the lights have come on over the school, and it's a great academic setting. I wouldn't say that just because you asked me to be a JV basketball coach. I'd say that anyway. So my first interview was with Mr. Dale Higgins, that is our present superintendent's dad, and Mr. Taylor.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Little dark room in the old city hall, and so I need to thank them for giving me a chance. I was hired at Ellsworth High School because I had no experience. And if you knew Mr. Higgins, low budget is the way we go. All right? That's okay. We had great things. Okay? Narraguagus didn't want me because I didn't have any experience. So what a break that was, right? Go to a circle school, right? Walk around circles all day, and I know we do that when we run laps, but we have that choice. So, right, to my 500 plus soccer players, I've always tried to make practice fun, all right, and probably a little tougher than I should be sometimes, but in the long run, you can remember those numbers on the wall in the gym or the plaques, and hopefully you'll forget all those bad times. Raymond in 1963 maybe, and Mike Bell, 1980, when you broke your foot in the gym before a playoff game, right? But he still played. Right, to the parents of to the players, this guy's the biggest. Did you go to Fort Kent? I bet you did. So our first playoff game in the Class A was a final at Fort Kent, and with snowbanks. It was ice on the field, and they were better than we were, but we won 2-1. So that was quite a ride home, and. Sorry, but Charlie was in the back of the bus, and Charlie kept saying all the way home, "We're Eastern Maine champions, you guys, and next week we're going to play in the state championship." And right, I remember that very as vivid as he said it, 40 years ago. Oh, Jim, thank you. For an awesome job on the fields. Right? Jim could manicure a field like a golf course. And those lines are straight as an arrow, so I just remember. And I know we always had to thank you too. All right? Because you like that, because you did a great job. So, right? Our grounds twos have always been good, but Jimmy really did a nice job for us, and you had a tough job across the street here. And no coach is successful without a support crew. And luckily tonight, Becky made the list for Athletic Hall of Fame, Mr. Locke, so you probably wouldn't have come. But since you did, thank you for your 25 years of junior high soccer and getting kids ready for us. And later on, Drew Myers also coached 14 years for us at the high school, and if there's any teachers here, we got to mention Trevor Barnes for helping us. So he went to Camden. That's so good. All right. So, how did I get to Ellsworth? As a kid, I loved sports. At an early age, I loved baseball. I played basketball. It's a tough word now in schools, but in 1962, my baseball coach bullied me. He said, "Higgins, you're not tough enough to play football." Guess what? I was tough enough. I played 1 year. He played me out on the split end, so I wouldn't get killed. So, but that was John Bonnerite. If they've ever heard of him, he was a good football coach and an awesome baseball coach. As a kid, I always wanted access to the gym. Mr. Eads and Mr. Scott and Mr. Taylor could tell you we played a lot of outside basketball. In the mud, in the snow. You hear all this? I said we played a lot of outside basketball when we were over here. I'm going to pull up a chair and sit right here. All right, and as you might expect, PE was my favorite subject in school. I attended Route 68 Teachers College, and sometimes the story isn't always a happy ending. I was very good at ping pong at Route 68 Teachers College, it's now UMPI, but I was horrible at biology, Western civilization, math, and whatever else was academic, so they asked me to leave. Right? I wasn't doing much for them. Right? So I became a cook at the old Orinoco restaurant. All right? Something funny about that. That was a pretty fancy place once. Right? If you're over 50 years old, you've been there. If you're 70 years old, it's closed. But I lasted there about a year, and draft papers came. So it was either in the Army or sign up. So I signed up in the Navy. I was in the Navy 5 years, and it's a college in Connecticut called Mitchell College. They take rehabs. That was me. All right? They take people that have struggled. Brad Hubbard, the runner for the Oakland Raiders, was there with me. He'd struggled at Cornell or Columbia somewhere. So, but I did pretty good there, and one of my patients suggested I meet the admissions counselor at Mitchell College, a junior college that was excellent at soccer. That's where I got my introduction to soccer, and since I had a little physical therapy training, I was a trainer for the soccer team, and they were undefeated. They had about 15 out of 18 international students, so they were pretty good. So I made it through there and made it to my dream college with full credits to Springfield College. Springfield College, Mr. Taylor. These cats are pickers. So, and Charlie S. So I graduated from there pretty good, and went to the placement office, and there was a note on the board opening at Ellsworth High School. I didn't know I was going to have to meet Mr. Taylor for a job with Dale Higgins, but a tough interview, and they called back. I was working on the Cape at the time, so I had to drive up one day and drive back. But they asked me to be the PE teacher. So, pretty good. And in the second breath, oh, by the way, can you coach soccer? $7,700 a year to start. as a salary. So probably was $500 to coach. I don't know what it was, but anyway, I said yes. And as Sue said, I've never played the game. I've just seen it played. Maybe played a little in PE class. But I had to coach the first game. Do you remember that one? Went to Penobscot Valley. Red card at halftime. A lot changed since then. That was my only red card ever in the first 40 minutes of soccer. There was good news about that. We had a bus driver, Luther Springer. If you played on a sports team, he was here when you were here. Yeah, so to around, 1990, Luther took over the game. And as is true in baseball games today, he was the relief pitcher. He got the loss. Okay, so I'd only been teaching 2 days. Ended up in Mr. Baxter's office at the time. Mr. Baxter's. Okay, and so he was pretty nice. And I don't remember what the conversation was, but I was still coaching at the end of the day, so. Second game was a loss. Third game was a loss. Raymond, remember? We're 0-3? Yeah. After the third game, I cheated and drove my car to Newport to North Columbus High School. And I went to Springfield College after the game. Sent them home to Luther. It was fine. And my coach there that I had worked with asked me when I was playing for a lineup. And I said, 2 backs, 3 midfielders, 5 forwards. He said, you crazy? Right? You play 2 forwards, 3 midfielders, 5 backs. You play defense. So we did that, and the remainder of the year we were 7-1-1. 75, we were undefeated. Went to Skeg High School and froze, and lost to them 3-2. The next year we were bumped to Class A and seeded 6, so we beat the third team. Came in Rockport 2-1. Remember who scored the winning goal against newcomers? Charlie Katspikis. Your brother. It was okay. All right, so we upset them. They outshot us 31-2. One of our 2 shots was in overtime. Anyway. So we did lose a state game, and things just kept going after that. So that's it. All right, that's all for soccer. All right, but we had kids that believed in what I coached, and I'll never forget Charlie saying, "No, guys, let's just try it. We don't want to do what everybody's doing. Let's just try it, you guys." Let's go 2 goals. So, all right. So. Then in 1981, as you mentioned, had a little meeting with Mr. Taylor. You should be closer to him. All right? Mr. Taylor approved a tennis program for Ellsworth High School. And his first comment was, well, you ever play tennis? No. But he agreed, and we had some kids that had already played a little bit. So in 1982, we were MPA approved for boys, and 1983 girls. Right? Tennis is a little bit unique to people who have never seen it played. There is no coaching, and the kids are their own referees. They have to make their calls on their side of the court, in or out. And for the ladies, it's a little tough because they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings on the other side. For the boys, they don't care. All right? It's out. You sure? Yeah, it's out. It's out. It's out. So that's the way it's played. And so for a while, we couldn't coach during the game. We could only put the players in the lineup, and that was it. We could not say a word to our players while they were playing. Now, can you see playing a basketball game and calling your own fouls in the Easter Maine tournament? How would that work, Mr. Eads? Okay. So 90% of coaching is done in practice. And we used to find our players in pickleball class. We had pickleball when you guys were in school? Yeah. Wow, so pickleball for 30 years. All right, and so we find kids in class that had a little good stroke for pickleball, and it's the same strategy in the stroke for tennis. Right? Tennis is a lifetime sport, and it's a lot of fun for me to go to the indoor courts down here in the winter and see some of our former players, and they might be 30 or 40 now still playing tennis. And some of our former players take up the sport after they're in high school. Where is Teresa? Correct? Yeah. Right? It's a good lifetime sport for everybody. All right, so I'm done. I need to congratulate all the inductees. And this is pretty awesome, you guys, right? We all know it's a great honor, and you know what? People are going to come in those doors, and they're going to see your dads, your sisters, your brothers, your wives, your husbands, name on that wall forever. And how cool is that? You know, when you're milling around the gym before a ball game, and you say, oh, look at those names. Oh my God, Higgins is still here. All right? So thank you very much. And you're going to give the news flash about yourself, Louie? Louie's been sharing information with me. So thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Clifford.
Okay, to accept on behalf of Charlie Katsoukas, Coach Ray Katsoukas.
My father was a very calculated coach. His teams always had a money play, a special play when they needed a basket. He would go to that play. His players always had a money shot, bottom floor. It was their spot. When they were open, they caught the ball, to shoot it. His coaching philosophy was difficult to coach against because it was very fast-paced, and his teams were in better condition than any teams they played against. Tough to coach, you know, in good shape. And also, his philosophy was to try to steal the ball out of the person's hands, off the dribble, off the pass. You didn't miss the pass, you had to go. I'm going to share one, try and keep a real quick story to give you an idea how exact and specific he was. Go back to the early 70s, I was 14, 15 years old, and the pal, or on the account of his pal, I want to learn how to shoot. He was pretty innocent. I said, sure. I don't say yes to everything he said anything. So I said, I'm going to teach you how to shoot with a one-hand push shot. Sounds good. His graduate work at Springfield College, his thesis, was the mechanical analysis of the one-hand push shot. It's a book. When I was it's still in the library there, I read it. So, had a big fire built out in my backyard. I put a basket in it, 25 feet high, because it had to be that high to put the correct fire on the wall. So we were going to go out at 6 o'clock in the morning, before school, shoot 200 shots. Couldn't be in sometimes in the winter time. There was no heat in the barn. There wasn't light. So we're okay. So we go out, and my spot he picked it for me. It was 6 inches past the top of the key. Back then, his philosophy was people will guide you to the top of the key, but not any further up. So we dropped the string from the backboard, out the back of the rim, we marked it, and that was my spot. And when you're on your spot, you don't catch the ball, take a step, you don't catch the ball, dribble. You're ready to go. No wasted time. There were 2 things you could not do. You could not miss short. If you missed short, the ball could not go in. And you could not miss to the side. Because that meant you just weren't concentrating, you weren't following through. Now, if you missed twice the same way, twice short of it, you really wish you had that. He was known to raise his bullet. His philosophy was to put more pressure on me or his players than you would ever get in a game. There's no question that. I was never nervous in a game. So with this lock, we're there, and I'm shooting a catch. So he's rebounding, and I prayed 200 times every morning before school that it didn't matter when in. It had to be straight, and it had to be on line. Now, that was fine in our barn, okay, in the barn. But half of our games are played in the basement. We always had a key in high school and the gym. So we don't, as you said, never palletized. So one Sunday we went in, we got middle high school, dropped the string down, measured out there, 3-point line, that's what we need to tell. And we have a hammer and a nail. And 6 inches past the top of the key, made 3 holes in the floor. They can redo the floor every year, those holes will still be there. We did that at the top of the key, 6 inches past, on the wing, foul line extended, and on the baseline on both ends of the gym. During a game, that's on my spot, and about those night shoot. In his philosophy, if you're all ready to shoot, if they're close enough so you can't get shot, then you can go by. You can't stop them. That's just one example. I'll stop there, but he did the same thing. I mean, he had everything to forget. Now, if anyone doesn't believe the story that told you, when they were taking up the old high school floor, construction people asked if I had a couple pieces of wood. You see it? There's a 3 nail hole, 3 triangle right there. I am honored and humbled to accept this for you, Dad. I love you and miss you. Thank you.
Tell the people here, if nobody dared to walk on the floor during a game, how do you know? Everybody was off the floor. You wouldn't let anybody on the floor. So if you were, so the next you were, you had to walk all the way around. He was.
No, he wasn't that bad.
For Vicky Locke, Paul and Marianne Locke.
It's an honor for my wife Marianne and I to receive this recognition for our daughter Becky. This time she's in Boston. Right now holding her in our 5-month-old Emmett and Silas. She couldn't be here tonight. She gave me something to read for her. Before I read that, though, my wife and I would like to thank the Ellsworth community for all they did for Becky. a tight-knit environment where you know so many people that you get a feeling that there's always someone there looking out for you. I'd like to thank the elementary and middle school for all they do back up. And at the high school, all the track coaches, soccer coach, for all they did, and also for the teachers. The academic studies that allowed her to go on to study biochemistry in RPI, and from there she was able to go on and receive her doctorate at the University of California, San Francisco. And now at this time, that gave her the opportunity to be a postdoc working in the Harvard lab at Brigham and Women's Hospital studying childhood cancer. And all that came because of Peter, because of all of you. And we appreciate it. She sent us something to read. Becky says, first I would like to thank the selection committee, including me and the Ellsworth High School Hall of Fame and their order class. I'm incredibly honored and humbled to be selected alongside of such an outstanding group of athletes and coaches, two who impacted my athletic career personally. Louis Lucchini, who I had the chance to run with and whose determination to be the best runner possible was always an inspiration. And Brian Higgins, whose mere presence made us all want to play soccer for Ellsworth High School. Athletics has always been a big part of my life, and I'm grateful for the opportunities I got at Ellsworth High School to play soccer and run track. I'll forever appreciate the amount of time, money, and commitment from administrators, coaches, and parents that made it possible for me to participate in soccer and track and made these programs shine. I've always felt that my participation in sports has aided my academic performance and now my career. As part of numerous soccer teams over the years, I have learned the importance of teamwork and commitment. Running track taught me how to be self-driven and self-determined, which energizes me every day as a scientist. I have several people to thank, starting with the great group of people that led me to have such a successful and, more importantly, incredibly fun time as a member of the Ellsworth High School girls soccer team from '97 to 2000. First and foremost, notably, a huge thank you to our coach, Jen Myers. She really brought the best performance out of each of us. We were always excited and proud to play with her. She was a huge part of the success we had as a team from '98 to 2000. I would like to recognize all the people who played a part in my soccer training, from John McDonald, our middle school coach, to my travel coach, and to Brian Higgins, who encouraged all of us to play soccer throughout the year, which included Boot Eagle Soccer Camp and University of Maine. Finally, soccer is a team sport. I never would have had the success I did without the incredible group of women I had the opportunity to play alongside. In particular, I would like to recognize Katie Sirwet, Laura Jacobson, and Heidi Chan, who I grew up playing soccer alongside, starting from youth YMCA soccer. They were incredible teammates and players and made me a much better player and made playing for EHS such a memorable experience. Moving on to track. I'd like to first thank the great coaches I've had over the years, including Jimmy Schudette, Chuck Whitney, and Jason Clark. I'd like to thank them for their great guidance and training. Importantly, they recognize my strengths and encouraged me to become a 300-meter hurdler, which turned out to be my best event and led me to have success at the 400-meter hurdles in college. Although track is an individual sport, a huge part of a runner's success comes from the teammates we train with, who motivate us to run harder and faster. In particular, I'd like to thank Monica Gardner, who always pushed me in the sprint hurdles, and Adam McFett, my training partner in the 300-meter hurdles. Finally, I'd like to thank all the friends and family who encouraged my athletic pursuits and encouraged my love of sports from the beginning. A big thanks to my neighbors, the Gamblins, who hosted weekly pickleball games and occasionally football games, and coached me in youth soccer and softball. A huge thanks to my two brothers, Tim and Casey. They're both great athletes, and as a girl growing up with two brothers, I always wanted to try and be as good as them at everything. They are a big part of the reason I played soccer, and I don't think I would have been the competitor I am without their influence. Finally, as a biologist, I feel obliged to say that my success is, of course, 100% due to my parents' great genes. So I thank you for that. Joking aside, I wanted to thank them for always encouraging us to play sports. Thank you for your coaching, driving me around, and coming to all of my games and track meets, even driving down to Boston when I ran in college. Your support and encouragement are really the biggest contributors to my success. Thank you very much. Thank you for putting together this sport hall of fame.
Jim Newitt to introduce Louis Lakini.
Good evening. It's my honor to present some information to you about Louis Lakini. He's one in a long line of outstanding runners to come through Ellsworth High School, and certainly Louis is one of the very, very best. Louis was very nice in providing me with kind of a rundown of all of his various accomplishments. But no, he didn't tell me anything about middle school, and as the middle school principal, I think we ought to hear a little bit about the middle school. So I have his 1995 yearbook, and you don't know this, but these 8th grade superlative page has Louis down as the cutest. He's also the most musical. Then you turn to where the cross-country team picture is. And there's Louis again with one of his buddies, and they're holding a team trophy. There's also Louis got this little individual medal, and that was certainly a foreshadowing of things to come. So then we get to high school, and Louis was a 14-time individual state champion, 14 times, 2 in cross-country, football, and track. He was a member of 2 state championship cross-country teams in 96 and 98. He was the Indian champion in 1998 in cross-country, and the Indian champion in 2-mile indoors in 1999. Some of you have heard of the Foot Locker Championships. That's the national championship for high school students. In his junior year, he finished 11th. In his senior year, he finished 7th. Now, again, Louis neglected to mention one thing about his high school career. I remember it well. It was November 22nd, 1997. He was in 9th grade. We're at the Brewer Turkey Trot. I'm running my butt off. And right there at the end of the race, Louis goes by me, beats me by 1 second. And I'm devastated, 16 years old. But I'm also humble and very, perhaps a little surprised. Wait for that. I have a detention slip. I'd like you to show up on Monday, please, to serve your detention if you haven't beaten me in 1996. Truly, that was certainly, again, more foreshadowing. Louis then, as you all know, moved on to college at Stanford University on a full scholarship. That's one of the most prestigious schools, of course, in the country. We get a full ride there. It's pretty incredible. Before you turn 20 in the track and field world, you're considered a junior. And Louis, to this day, holds the junior American record for under 20 years old in the 5K for indoor track in 14:08. It's still his record to this very day. While at Stanford, Louis was an 11-time All-American. He was a member of 3 NCAA championship teams, one in track, 2 in cross country. He was captain of the Stanford team. He set the record in 5K for Stanford, which has since been eclipsed at 13:25 to 3.1 miles. Pretty incredible. At that time, that was one of the top 10 times in the country for a collegiate runner ever. He was the NCAA runner-up in the 5K in 2003, and he finished 5th in the USA National Championships in the 5K in 2002 and 2003. Some small little upstart company called Nike, which we know is massive, hired Louis out of college to be a pro runner, and that just blows my mind. Spent about 6 years with Nike, and during that time, there were 2 different Olympic years, 2004 and 2008. In the 2004 Olympic trials, Louis competed in 5K, and in 2008, he competed in the 10K. I remember watching Louis both times on TV during those Olympic trial events. And I think the second one was in Eugene. It was a pretty late night, but I did not want to miss Louis on TV. And it just made me so proud of what this fine man from Ellsworth, Maine was doing. He made it to big time running, was highly successful, while still being Louis. Kind-hearted, good-humored, humble, and a man with integrity. We are so fortunate that Louis returned to Ellsworth following his professional running career to represent us in the Maine House of Representatives, to serve as Ellsworth High School's cross-country coach. Louis is a class act. He still calls me Mr. Newark. He relates well with everyone. He listens to his constituents. He helps kids be more than they could be on their own. Louis is truly deserving of this Hall of Fame honor, and I'm pleased to call him up to the podium at this time. Louis.
Thank you, Mr. Hewitt. It's nice. It's just natural. Yeah, it's truly an honor to be here tonight, to be a member of the Executive Member Hall of Fame. With a lot of the Ellsworth High School legends. I grew up hearing stories from my dad about Jack and John, the great legendary basketball team, Soda Stu, and Charlie. Being a track runner, I knew everything about Rob Hendricks that he ever did, and I knew hang out with his boys all the time, and they told me about Jamie every time we go out on the run, and I helped coach Dan a little bit back in the day. And Mr. Higgins, because of PE with you, I tried so hard to get the athletic director to let us do 2 sports that I could play soccer for you. It wouldn't happen, so I just took PE. We had a great time. Of course, I got to run with Becky in high school. So it's certainly an honor to be in the Executive Hall of Fame, and for such a small town, it's pretty remarkable the athletic success that Ellsworth has had over the years. And just to echo some of the comments Mr. Higgins, I just want to thank Mr. Clifford for getting this going, as well as the academic hall of fame. When he called me, because I didn't return the letter for a while, he called me to tell me I was in the hall of fame, and I said, "Oh, you mean the academic hall of fame?" And then he had a really good laugh and said, "The one downside," and thanks to also Josh Ross who's here, who's doing a great job with that like and again, thanks a lot to Jim for the introduction. I called him last night. It was like, sometimes they introduced me or forgot to set it up, and the first thing that popped into my head was Mr. Wood. He's really been an inspiration to both my brother and I, on and off the track since we were little kids. A lot of us who are runners grow up running road race circuits around here, and so that's really, literally where we learned how to run some streets of Ellsworth. And we watch the races and we see Mr. Newitt come in, and if you've ever watched him race, sometimes Jan probably knows this pretty well. He comes in sometimes looking pretty rough shape. Sometimes he staggers in. But my brother and I just said, we want to run that hard so that we pull out across the finish line. That's one of the guys that really inspired us to try really hard and train hard. There's nothing better than to push yourself that way. So this really was the first of that. Of course, Jimmy's here. Jimmy Shadak has been a coach since the earliest days of my running, and he loves to tell the stories how in the early days I wasn't much of a runner and actually hated running. I was probably the shortest kid in the class and one of the roundest kids in the class, I think. I got lapped in all of my races, so I tried shot put and some other but Jimmy always pushed us, and I had the great fortune of running. My brother was 2 years older than me, so I got to watch him run through the years, and he had a great deal of success. And I remember when I was in 5th grade, my brother was winning pretty much everything. And so I figured out that he and my dad had set up a secret plan where if my brother won a race, my dad would give him $20. And so my brother was making a ton of money. I said, I want to get in on this racket. And so I started training harder. And not afraid to say part of my motivation was financial at that time. Some of the community here has been so supportive of running. I think, as has been said already tonight, any great athlete can only be as good as the people that are around them. And I've been really lucky here at the Ellsworth schools, the community, the running community. We have such great conditions. I'm happy to be a coach of the cross-country team, help with those conditions, and they all try to surprise me tonight by showing up after a race earlier today. Thank you all for coming today. Mr. Clifford let the cat out of the bag, but I'm throwing over the bus on that. Thank you guys for coming. There were just so many there's so many great stories we tell about the community. We had, whenever I would race, Larry Pullman, my good friend played Larry Pullman, would fill up his band with the old ladies from St. Joe's, we call it, my church, and he'd bring them to every race that I went to. Lana over at Larry's would give me a gingerbread man before every race, and she would mail them out to Stanford when I was out there in college. The community had a huge impact on me, and that was one of the big reasons when I was looking at going into college. I was looking at a number of schools, and so the Stanford coach purposely flew me out in the middle of winter so that I would go to California to study. And then they took me down the Palm Tree Drive on campus, which was another good selling point. And then I looked around and there were girls everywhere. So I was ready to sign the paper there, but I was like, I'm going to try to negotiate a little bit. And so the one thing I made him promise me was that we'd have to come back to the race in May when I was on the cross-country team. And he promised it, and I committed to go there, and then we came back twice in University of Maine to race. He still gives me a hard time about it because it was the most expensive race to fly for San Francisco in the anymore. And it was the longest trip of the season, and we swept it, I think, when it became so. But he gave me such a hard time, and then he stayed good to his words, and then afterwards I brought all the kids to Ellsworth and went to their race after the race. And then, so after that, I think my dream job at Nike, which Mr. Higgins pointed out, I turned his own down my dream job, but working in politics, so I kind of did a full 180 from that. Just a lot of people to thank. I just want to thank all the coaches who've been involved, since the very beginning. Jimmy Shadak, of course, who's been here for decades and dedicated to kids. Mr. Newitt, in middle school, Nancy Patterson, Jen Myers coached for a while, and so coached us. In high school, Beardsley and Jimmy. Beardsley was just, still a close friend of mine to this day. And, I talked to him the other night. He loves to teach about everything in National, not just running. He loves to talk about wizards and politics and things like that. And then on in college, I had great coaches from Finland and my brother. I guess last but not least, I'll just give a thank you to the family. Most importantly, have such a supportive family the whole way. Obviously, buying shoes and everything. My brother and I started this tradition where we need a new pair of socks every race, so I'm sure that's quite well expensive over the years because we raced all the time. But my dad was happy to oblige, and they certainly taught me the value of hard work, take pride, everything that you do, even, the smallest of things, which is something I try to tell kids that I coach. It's an accumulation of all the hard work that you do, the small things that seem kind of stupid, like stretching and drills, that we move on doing, and really add up over the years and how we do that before. So, and I have no doubt in my mind that I learned my competitiveness from my parents. I was golfing with my dad and my brother and my uncle last week, and there was so much trash talk going on, it was ridiculous. That's also probably where I've been in trash talk. We got so competitive out there, it's just a friendly game. And my mom and I played cribbage the other day, and I was ready to go forward with the next but yeah, it's a group effort. I couldn't have done it without all the support of the community and my family and coaches that I had along the way. So thank you all.
Representing Rob Pendergast, and Mr. Higgins told me to call you Rebel. So Jim Rebel Pendergast is that.
There's a couple of things I'd like to say. First, it's the first time I've ever seen Mr. Higgins in a suit, other than a sweatband. And secondly, I'd like to tell you that I still call him Mr. Newman. He was, Mr. Newman was the first coach that Rob had in cross country. And I can remember to this day, him making my son run extra laps and extra miles because he didn't like it. I'm absolutely kidding. He was the greatest guy in the world to have as a coach for my son. I'm very proud of that. But, I'm standing up here and all of a sudden I realized, man, there are a lot of stories in here. A lot of great athletes. I don't have near the stories to tell, so mine's going to be pretty short and sweet. They didn't have anything to say about Rob, but I think that Rob could have said it for himself. Rob was a very humble young man in his competition. He never bragged. I remember one time when I was taking pictures for the Olympic American, and they provided me with black and white film to go up and take the pictures at the University of Maine. Nobody wanted to go up there. So they gave me the film. I had my own camera. And one day he said to me, he said, Dad, don't take any pictures of me today. Take them to somebody else. Let somebody else get in the paper for a change. It's okay. I don't need it. But it just told me a lot about myself when he said that. But a few stories I'll tell you, kind of interesting. The effort they made, I always said that put in your best effort, do whatever you can, and then you can't be ashamed of yourself. So one day he was running, we were in Massachusetts, and he was running, and he'd come in and he said, Dad, I think we'll love it up. I said, well, did you lay down and take a nap back there? He said, no. I said, I didn't have to come get you so you weren't hurt. He said, did you do the best you could do? Yeah, I did everything I could do. This wasn't my day. I said, well, let's go home. And then I remember when we go fast forward, it's a little funny, it was in the Olympic trials of 1992. He was running, and probably a lot of you, the older guys, remember Dan and Dave competition. The decathlon is it's an old man's sport. Rob was 19 years old, doing the decathlon with Dan and Dave. And we were watching it, however, I know, having it filmed as well. And on CBS News, Rob ran the 400 meters, 1,500 meters, and he was in the film the whole way around, the whole thing. And so I showed him the film. He said, "Gee, Dad, if I'd known I was going to be in that footage, I'd have run faster." I said, "Rob, you have to understand that they were keying on Dan O'Brien. If you'd run any faster, you wouldn't have been in it at all." But anyway, my son wishes that he could be here. He was here 2 weeks ago. We were at the Maine State Hall of Fame. He was inducted 2 years ago, and they have a golf tournament. And he was here 2 weeks ago, and he just couldn't come back this time. So he wanted to say thank you to the committee. And he wrote this little thing here, so I'll tell you. First of all, I'd like to thank the committee who has given me the honor of being inducted to the Elmwood High School Hall of Fame with such a distinguished group. To all the coaches from grade school and up, Jim Newitt, Steve Coffin, Jimmy Shadek with an asterisk, and Dan Cook from MBI High School, who once suggested that, "Ron, why don't you try multi-events?" And that's what really started for him to start doing the high jump and the pole vault and the javelin and the discus and the shot put and the 1,500. Dan Cook was the one that recognized it long before anyone else had said anything about it. They have his sincere gratitude. He said, without them, this honor would surely not have been made possible. He said, to my mom and dad, I would like to, words can't describe how thankful I am for the transfer of my genetic gifts. I can do that next I'm just kidding. He says, I'm extremely proud of my hometown and my high school in the state of Maine. And I'll give you an example of that. In his junior year, he was in the National Scholastic Track and Field Championships in Gainesville, Florida. And we were checking in, and he came out. I said, "Rob, that jersey looks a little small, buddy." He said, "I don't care how small it is." He said, "They damn well better spell the name on it." That's how proud he was to be there. He was more concerned with the fit, but that they had spelled the name correctly. He said, let us always remember many athletes often compete and train in solitude. Danny knows that. With humility, resilience, and determination. And winning will not always be the end result of any competition, but the effort made will always linger in the minds of those who compete. Remember always to encourage those who compete and train for any athletic competition, no matter what the sport is. And at last, I want to thank the Ellsworth High School Hall of Fame Committee for the opportunity to express myself outside of the arena. Maine will always be a great place for sports and education. Thank you very much. I apologize. I had an asterisk. And the asterisk was after Jimmy Shadek's name. And from my heart, from my family, and from Rob, we have to thank this man. Because without him, in 2 of the years that my son competed, there was no coach. Jimmy didn't know a lot about the shot put or the javelin or the high jump, but he was a sprinter. But he got on that bus and he took those kids up there so they had a coach, which is what they needed. And someday, I hope to be sitting in this room when he's inducted to this high school Hall of Fame because he richly deserves it.
Okay, next up is Dick Scott, who's unable to be here, but I will share an email that he sent. He and I exchanged a few this week. Just to pass this along, I'm honored to be included in such an impressive list of athletes and coaches. Ellsworth High School will always have a special place in my heart. I definitely feel like I would not be where I am today without the assistance and guidance that I received from the coaches, the teachers, my teammates, and my friends who I was lucky enough to be around during my time at EHS. Collectively, these are still some of the best memories of my life. Please send along a congratulations to the other inductees. Sincerely, Dick Scott, class of 1981. Tim, come on up. And Jack Scott. Jack is considered one of the best athletes to ever play main high school sports. A Bangor Daily poll in 1981 named him as a state of Maine leading player from 1940 to 1980. He was part of the successful 1953 and 1954 undefeated state championship teams in basketball that participated in the New England Championships. Jack finished his high school playing career with 1,057 points and was named All-State in 1953 and 1954, and All-New England 1953 and 1954. He was also a member of the All-North team his senior year, which is comparable to the McDonald's All-American team. Jack Scott. Mike Bell, come on up. Introduce Tim Scott.
First of all, I'd like to start out as well. I've been away for a long time. It's tremendous that the sport will be able to before, but it's great to see such community pride and be able to conduct something like this. But second of all, it's tremendous to be able to sit here and listen to all these stories. It's been a lot of fun. Congratulations to all the inductees. These stories bring back a lot of great memories. Tim, thanks for having me here. I appreciate you coming home. I'm going to talk about them in three ways. Real quickly, he's a man of brevity. He asked me to do the same. So first of all, Tim is a person. High character, high quality. Loves his family. You know what? I played with him. He loved the people around him. He was great. We made sure that happened. We all worked hard to be the greatest ever. Brought us all a lot of joy. Family. Nancy's sitting up there. Jack, Mike, Dick, Jeff, Tim. I was able to grow up around them. The strength of that unit, Nancy would have the editor. She was tough. Real tough. Certainly brought out the best into all of the world. Especially Tim. Working his way through his brothers, great athletes in themselves, but he was determined to do terrific. Extremely humble guy. Extremely humble. And we've heard that word used a couple of other times here. You never get out of him all the great things that he did for this community. And I recognize things are relative, especially as I sit here and listen to these stories. We all have a time frame that we grew up in, right? So we think that moment is the greatest time of all. So just a quick story. It's that miracle minute that everybody may remember, right? He's remained quiet. There's a couple minutes left in the game. We were arguing earlier about the number of points he scored. It really doesn't matter. But he scored a lot. This community needed a win. I was already a freshman in college at that point. I was sitting behind the bench. And what I remember is him going down, scoring a couple of points. 3-3-pointers, I think. Within about a minute. He brings the ball down before the next time around. What he's going to do? He's going to shoot, right? He's going to carry the team. He's going to win the game. Not Tim. They pass down low to a guy named Jason Sadler. Jason lays that ball in. And this community has a great win. This guy right here is the first guy to hug everybody out there that recognized what they did to bring it all together. So it's my honor here tonight to introduce Tim Scott and the tremendous award of copyright.
Didn't cost me that much either, so thanks, Mike. This has been a great night. It's been a lot of fun. Like Mike said, I've heard a lot of interesting stories, great stories. I'd like to thank Mr. Clifford, committee, and all the other inductees. Congratulations to this special night. First thing my daughter said before I got this, "You gonna cry?" I said, "Nope." But anyway, there's been a lot of great athletes, coaches that have been coming through EHS. To be nominated as one of them into this Hall of Fame is a tremendous honor. I thank everybody for their time and effort. I think the reason for my success, Mike alluded to, we have 3 older brothers who have to compete pretty quickly. You can only lose so many times in American basketball. Cribbage is related, get that, So you learn to compete real quick. And also just growing up at Ellsworth, we were always playing sports. Whites, we're at the courts, we're playing against older kids. They're bigger, they're stronger. You find a way, try a little harder, work a little harder. It made everything easier for me going through middle school and high school. The brothers didn't always want to take me along, but we always have to take the baby. But they would do it, you get up there and see the football at the Milton School. You play, you have fun, try hard, you try to win, you don't, try again next Sunday. You go to the courts, the old courts, lights are on, we're in a stage. You don't want to lose, you want to stay up there, you want to keep playing. And that just brought more competitiveness to us. But the biggest thing is, it taught us how to play the game correctly, how to play it hard, how to play it fair. And there was nothing but that, and that's what I got out of that. Also, when you get a chance to get into high school, obviously my goals, to make varsity at some point. Fortunate enough, freshman year, varsity all 3. I couldn't have done it without the 3 coaches that I had. Coach Higgins, I saw you win the loss record. I'm about 500 wins away from you. We have about the same amount of losses already. So, much better career. But there was one moment, I might have been 5th or 6th grade, ball boy, sideline, end line, gator pit. Remember the gator pit, going down, no soccer balls. Varsity game ends, and I'm just hanging around. Mr. Higgins comes over. Want to play goal in the JV game? Sure. Why not? So I always remember that. And I don't think now you can get away with that. There'll probably be a lot of phone calls made to high school. But as a 6th grader, I'm out there playing goal, thought nothing of it, and I know what I'm going to have. But it just built a little more fire, a little more desire to be at that level, carry on traditions that I saw from my brothers and the people here that I watched play. So thank you for all that. Same thing, freshman year, tryouts are over, pulled me in. Yeah, just want to make sure you're comfortable. We'd like to start. We'd like to come off the bench. Took me about half a second to answer that question. I'd like to start. I said, okay, I want to make sure you're good with everything. You know, and I don't forget that. And then later in life, how small the world is. He's the principal at Guilford. I'm applying for a job. I got the first teaching job through Schoenberg. And then some soccer, JV soccer. So I'm out there. August, soccer practice. Bruce drives up. How's it going? Oh, everything's going well. Good. So you're going to coach girls varsity basketball this winter, right? I said, yes, I am. Maybe my first job. I'll do whatever you need. But their passion, their dedication to the sport, you know, is second to none. And then Coach Scott. His dad. The balance hours. Of BP, ground balls, you know, just his dedication and knowledge of the game, obviously, you know, jumping to that level, the next level, in a couple of years to the level after that. But I think the biggest thing was his hard work, his work ethic, and you know, there's a couple stories. Love it. Into the high school gym on Sunday. You want to go shoot? Sure. Love to go shoot. We go up there and we shoot. Work on some ball handling. He's like, all right, now we're going to work on left-handed hook shots. My mind, didn't say it out loud. My mind, I'm like, why? You know, this is pretty good right now. So I said, all right, it's Sunday mid-morning. So I start, right side, got through, yes. Right side. 5 minutes, but it seemed, you know, it's just you, it's a long time. So finally he goes, I don't have anywhere to be till 7:30 a.m. Monday morning. We can do this right. You can bust your ass, or you can half-ass it, and we'll be here until school starts. And I'm like, I can be serious. So, all right, we'll go at it full speed now for a while. You know, so those things obviously played a huge role. All three coaches, my brothers, my family, the success I achieved. Teammates, we played soccer, basketball, and baseball for 4 years. There's so many. I know I would forget Aaron's right there. We had a great time. The others, I would forget names, important names. But we all played hard. We played it the right way. We all had fun when we did it. And I think that led us to a lot of success throughout the years. One teammate who just introduced me, I learned a lot. Your toughness, your courage, your determination to succeed. You weren't 100% your career. This is taught me a lot. Achieve things when we're not quote unquote healthy. You're a great teammate. You're a better friend, Mike. Thank you. Mom and Dad, for all your love and support. Couldn't be here without it. You know, the opportunities, the camps, the shoes, baseball, basketball, everything that we needed, we got. So thank you for that. And to the committee, thank you again. It's a great honor, a great night. And the last question I hear every now and then, who's the best athlete of our family? Mom, thank you. She said it was me.
Representing Mr. Taylor, Darren Taylor.
Good evening, everybody. I am here to introduce the next inductee in the first grade class of the Girls High School Sports Hall of Fame.
pretty excited and pretty proud to do so. First, I'd like to take a moment to congratulate all of the inductees tonight on all of your athletic and coaching accomplishments that you brought you tonight. As I read the list, I saw a lot of people that I was familiar with, people I was taught by, coached by, watched play, played with, and one particular gentleman, as my principal, I was disciplined on. And he is the next inductee. Stuart Taylor was born in Machias Port, December 29, 1931, in his grandfather's house. His mother and father were Rudolph and Willie Taylor. He began his education in Machias Port in a two-room schoolhouse where he attended school through the second grade. They moved around a lot after that. They moved to Old Town where he completed third, fourth, and fifth grades. In the early 40s during the war, they moved to Portland for a year. And then again, Cape Elizabeth for the 7th and 8th grade year, where he played his first organized basketball. Again, they moved this time to Waterville, where he began 9th grade, and then back to Old Town, where he finished his 9th grade. He started his sophomore year there, and then his parents moved his family back home to the Chias. He started on the JV squad at the Chias High School and was quickly promoted to the varsity team and became a starter for the remainder of his high school career. He earned a couple of nicknames from some jealous teammates that lost some claim to him. It was pretty fun. I know we probably didn't want me to tell you about this, but they called him the Old Town Hot Dog. And later he earned the title as the ball fire in the backcourt. In his senior year at Machias, he made the all-tournament team in Washington County. After graduating from Machias High School in 1949, he joined the U.S. Navy, and upon his completion of basic training, he volunteered for submarine duty and was assigned to the USS Clemenceau, which was a large diesel submarine. After proudly serving his country, he was discharged in 1952 and returned home to Washington County. Shortly thereafter, in 1953, he enrolled at Springfield College in Massachusetts, which we've heard a lot about tonight. He later graduated through the class of 1957. Again, he returned home to Washington County and accepted his first phys ed teaching and coaching position at Jonesport High School. He coached basketball and baseball there, and the basketball amassed a pretty impressive record, to which he takes zero credit. According to him, he was lucky and he inherited a loaded team. He taught and coached there for 2 years and had already started a family with his beautiful wife, Rosewood, who he married in September of 1956. The salary at Jonesport, I'm going to tell you this like he told me this. The salary at Jonesport High School was $3,600 a year. That's a year, not a month, a year. Okay, and it was not enough to support a young family, so we applied for and accepted a teaching position, and the Chias High School would pay more money to help support a growing family. There was no coaching spot available down there, and he missed coaching a lot there. Willard and Lorena Kelly were friends of Mom and Dad's, and they had taken teaching positions at Ellsworth, and called Dad in the spring of 1960 when the phys ed teaching position and boys varsity basketball coaching spot became available. He called and was given an interview by then Superintendent Frank Sammons in the Ellsworth School. He drove to Ellsworth in August of that year, was interviewed at the City Hall, and told me that he was, in his words, scared to death. Because to a good old boy from Washington County, Ellsworth was the big city. He said the interview went well. He answered all of their questions honestly. And remembers being asked how he made out against Beals Island while coaching at Jonesport. He told them that he had a 4-2 record against them, and he remembers that they seemed impressed with that. And he credits that as part of the reason he got hired at Ellsworth. After the interview, he said it seemed like forever before he got a phone call. It was about 2 weeks. Superintendent Frank Sammons was on the other end of the phone and asked him, "Stu, are you still interested in this job?" To which he replied, "Absolutely, I can't wait." He and my mom were so excited, she says, that they jumped up and down and danced in the kitchen. Later on, before school started in the fall of '60, he went to the high school to meet with Principal Thurlow Pitts. Mr. Pitts took Dad on a tour of the school and then told him he was going to show him his workplace, which was the gymnasium. And I've listened to my dad talk about this moment for years, and I've asked him to repeat it a few times because it is my favorite part of his story. And here is why. Whenever he's asked about it, whenever I've asked him about it, to tell me about Mr. Pitts showing him the gym,
The same thing always happens. His eyes light up, and you can sense his excitement about that moment. And he said walking into the gym that day was one of the greatest moments of his life, because in his words, he said, I couldn't believe that I had made it. He said it was like walking into the Boston Garden. The floor was freshly varnished and shined. How many of you guys remember walking into that gym for the first time? Put it down. Perfect. But he said it was like walking into the Boston Garden. The floor was freshly varnished and shiny. He told me that after playing and coaching in Washington County, where most basketball courts were nowhere close to regulation, one of your ribbons was 27 feet long and the foul lines overlapped. Literally grab a rebound and turn around and shoot a jump shot. Another had backboards painted on the walls at either end, and to take a layup was taking your life into your own hands. So to him, this truly was the big time. And he knew what everyone else knew, that Ellsworth was a basketball town. He knew about the Boston Celtics practicing in that gym in the 50s, and he also knew about the two great state championship teams that played in that gym in the 50s. In 1960, the gym at Ellsworth was still one of the most modern facilities in the state, and everybody wanted to play there. And I wanted to share that story with you because it speaks to exactly how excited he was to come to work at Ellsworth High School. He knew that people expected winning basketball there, and he wanted to be part of it. And we couldn't wait to get started at Ellsworth, and he told me that he was really unbelievably excited and nervous, and he knew that he couldn't show it. So began the coaching career of Stu Taylor at Ellsworth High School. He had a lot of really good teams to his 10 seasons coaching at Ellsworth, but obviously there were two really special teams. The 1964 state championship team and 1966 team. And I asked him to describe those two teams in a couple of sentences for each team. He described the 1964 team as workhorses. They were not technicians, but down in the trenches kind of guys, who were not the most talented, but they just simply outworked every team. Of the 1966 state champs, he says that they were more of a finesse team and could run their offense to perfection. They were a deeper and more balanced team, which made it a lot tougher for opposing teams to key in on any one player because they had a lot of weapons. I asked him what he attributed his success to. And when I asked him this question, he got visibly uncomfortable. And I could tell because he crossed his arms and sat up in his chair, became fidgety, like the other. And after thinking for a few minutes and me prodding him for an answer, he said that he had a great talent full of dedicated young men who worked hard. He also credited Ed Stites, who taught a coaching course at Springfield College. He credited his assistant coaches, his managers, and all of the support staff. I asked him what drove him or what his motivation was, and again I had to prod him for an answer. He talked about so many different people, so many different things, but what I gathered was that he didn't want to let anybody down. He didn't want to let his players down, he didn't want to let his family down, he didn't want to let his managers down, his community, his parents, and so on. I asked him who his greatest influences were, and a very comfortable, warm smile came across his face as memories of people that he has great respect, love, and admiration for came streaming through his mind. The late Tar Gardner was the first person that spoke of. Mr. Gardner was his basketball coach at the Chives during his senior year. He said that Mr. Gardner taught him much more about life than he did about basketball. He admired him as a teacher and for his wonderful attitude towards everything. He was an outdoorsman, he was a fisherman, and he was also an immigrant. The late Jack Whitmore. When he spoke about Mr. Whitmore, it was obvious that he had the greatest respect for him. He said that he was an expert observer with a calm, cool demeanor in any situation. He said that he had great appreciation for him and that he misses him very much. His father, the late Curly Taylor, who loved taking him to sporting events as a young man. In his words, he would do anything to take him, or to get him to a football game, a basketball game, or a baseball game. He was very active in that way. His late mother, Winnie Taylor, who through some really tough years, was always the glue that held the family together. I remember her as being a tough lady. And I'm sure that she was tough on him as he was with his players because she wanted him to be the best that he could be. Lastly, and the most important, his grandfather, Dan J. Stewart. He was probably the greatest influence in his life, and I asked him why. He said because he was always there for him. He was born in his house, He admired him for his talents as a skilled ball coach. He was not his biological grandfather, but he accepted that role. And as a grandfather, he was a great leader and always set great examples, not by saying or telling, but by doing. I asked him who he would like to thank. He would personally like to thank the committee who included him in his first class of inductees of the Ellsworth High School Sports Hall of Fame. He says thank you to Ellsworth High School and the community for accepting him, and also thank you to all the fans who faithfully attended all of his team's games for 10 years. He says thank you to all of his players who made this night happen. Del Lewis, who was the athletic director while he coached for 10 years, who was so supportive and helpful. Blake Tugwell, we'd like to thank him for sticking by him and always being there, and also for being one of the best fishing buddies ever. Finally, I'd like to tell you that I had the best time preparing for this. Dad and I sat together 2 or 3 times at my parents' dining room table. I put my notebooks, my pens, and my highlighter. Each time, I asked a lot of questions. Some I already knew the answers to, and some that I didn't. Watching him get excited about the gym, about his players, about different games, different plays, referees' calls, good and bad, it was obvious that he had a true passion for coaching, and he enjoyed every minute of it. One interesting thing that I noticed in reading my notes is that he would never take credit for any of the good things that happened, but he would always shoulder the blame for the tough losses in big games, and would talk at length about how he felt bad, how bad he felt for not doing something different. He always said that he was lucky. Disagreed with that. In high school, college, and professional sports, there are a lot of teams that are loaded with talent, but are terrible teams and have horrible records because they have no leadership. I've talked to a lot of the guys that played with him over the years, and I've asked most of them what he was like in practice and what he was like as a coach. Because I wanted to know what my dad was like to play basketball. And they all give the same answer, not so many words. They always said that he was tough, that he was fair, always very fair. One player elaborated with me, and I can't remember who it was, but he said when he made the varsity team, the first 2 weeks were miserable. Because he said, Dad yelled a lot and thought he was pretty tough. And this guy went home and complained to his parents, and his parents told him, one of them said, maybe he sees something in you that you don't realize. And he had a great experience after that. They say he had a knack for recognizing talents and helping players realize their potential. And I don't think he was lucky. I think that he cared. And he cared about all those young men that played for him. And that is why he was tough on them at times. And like his mother, I think that he was the glue that helped them come together and stick together as a team. So Dad, congratulations. Enjoy this moment. And welcome to the Ellsworth High School Sports Hall of Fame.
Share with this class. So last Saturday I sent out all the meeting information, and so I got a call from Dale Duff, left a message, and then I called him back, and we were just talking about the Hall of Fame in this class, and he said, I've seen every Eastern Maine high school that has started a Hall of Fame, I've seen their first class because they send me the information. And for years it's always been Old Town High School always had the best class I've ever seen until I saw this list of student athletes from Ellsworth High School. He said it's not even close. Ellsworth High School definitely has the best inaugural class of high school that he's seen. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you. Thank you for a terrific night. If I could ask the inductees or who have accepted for them, if they could come up here so we could have a group picture before you leave, that would be tremendous. Thank you for a great night. Thank you for coming.